Hey, how you doing? Let's do it to it. Okay, let's pull up a board editor. We're gonna set this position up, and then I'm gonna read to you what is called happy accident. A happy accident on the chessboard. Sometimes things happen by accident. This is what the author is going to tell you, but I want to get our position set up first, and then we will read it so that we have something to go straight into after we're done here. Let's make sure we have everything. So far, so good. So everything's good here. Haven't missed anything on that. Nothing missed here. Nothing missed there. Wow. 100%. Hip hip hooray. Gotta love it. I'll get the name put in and then we'll start the read. Let me see if I got the people's names spelled right. Got that. Got that name right. Yep. Let's see if I got the place spelled right. Yep. And the date. Perfect. Okay. Looking at it from White's perspective. Gotta enlarge this. Alright. Let's make sure we're at full max. There we go. Okay, this is what it says. The section inside on this is chapter 3, little tactics, and then the section inside of it that we're working on is happy accident. Let's be honest. No one intends to alter an alternate tactical move with a strategic move. Nobody intends. Basically, you're not. You're not like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and all of a sudden a tactic happens, then a strategy happens. No, no, no. No master says to himself, I'm going to play something positional this turn, and next move it'll be time to find a pin or a skewer that I can use. It just turns out that way. A happy accident. Here's an example of a mixing little tactic and a positional move from one of our games. Best known for this splendid endgame play and book. This is a good one. Alright. Okay, a few moves earlier, White was pursuing a standard strategic goal in his opening to get his knight to D and into D5. If he had acquired it, Black would have been virtually forced for tactical reasons to capture the knight white would retake with his e-pawn, the e-pawn, giving him a passed d-pawn and a wonderful outpost on e4 for another bishop or knight. For his piece, and the c2 to ha diagonal will be opened for his light squared bishop. But black discouraged that plan when he retreated his knight from c6 to e7. But black, but now d5 just loses a pawn. However, black regroups, regrouping his drawback. White underlined it when he understood it basically when he played c4. c4 here, exclam. This is, see what happened was the knight maybe was here and then retreated back for black. Something like that happened. Maybe what happened was maybe the knight went from here to there. Something like that. We're not exactly sure how that happened, but there was some. But this c4 move was a critical move at this point, because if the pawn takes, then the knight could actually take at this point, and it's a really strong setup at that point. The knight has a really wonderful outpost on c4, and there's really nothing that can kick it out but a piece, and that would be really hard to set up. Normally, he would be he'd be ready to reinforce the control of d5. This way, because it creates a hole on d4 that black could occupy with his knight. But after knight e7, that all went away, and then queen c6. There's no real way for the knight to see this move here with this pawn move created a hole on d4. But because this knight was on e7 and the queen was on c6, there's really no way for the knight to get there without a couple lost tempo moves, which would give white attacking chance. So the black retreated his knight to e8. And black has a strategic goal of his own, occupying d4 via c7, e6. So the idea for black is this here. Here, here, and then there. So here, here, and here. That's the idea that black wants to control. To occupy d4 route. White cannot stop that cannot stop that through the positional means. That's the job of a tactic, and white found a really strong tactic here. Bishop b3, exclam. This is a really strong tactic. Let me get a drink real quick. I got a little frog in my throat. Much better. The frog is left. I am ready to roll again. He threatens to play c takes b5, followed by queen takes f7 with a potential checkmating threat with queen f8. So basically, the idea is pawn takes here, queen there. When king moves, then queen would actually come down there and threaten mate. And when the knight here intercepts, the queen would then just take, and it would be checkmate. So that's the idea. And so that's why that was played. Okay, what was played here was black played b4. black played b4. And what could happen is if knight f6, knight to g4 exclam could actually be played here. That would lead to a clear positional edge after bishop takes g, h takes g5, or maybe not, sorry, not actually takes here, not g5, but if let's say the knight took, h take, and the threat of c takes d, c takes b5 is still in the works, and then queen takes is still there. Therefore, black couldn't meet the threat of this with b4. That's why they met that threat with b4. However, this enabled white to resume the improvement of his game positionally with knight to d5 at this point. Exclam. Now the knight got to come in to the position that it wanted to, with support this time. The move he wanted to play for several turns ago. When black replied, queen b7. White improved another of his pieces by playing bishop a4 exclam. See, you have to always think to yourself, when a piece is moved, what did this queen, there's a drawback chess, or what grandmasters didn't see this. It was Maurice Ashley did a DVD on chess, the chess-based store, and it's really interesting. White was looking, and when the bishop, when the queen went to b7, you have to ask yourself, what did it give up? It gave up this whole diagonal, the a5 to e8 diagonal, and so the bishop just decided to occupy. Why not just take it over? And it makes the pieces makes the bishop a lot stronger, and potentially it allows for a queen swinger, and there's a lot of different threats. This just develops, it just makes the position more solid. And even if must be, let's say you have to trade bishops off. Let's say the bishop came here, the lights for black. You can always trade it off, and then if the queen took back, you have b3 to keep the structure intact, and everything is good. Okay, black tried the same with knight c7. Black's knight is heading once again to the d4 square. That's where this knight wants to actually land by playing this here and in. But then again, black developed again another piece with g5, developing and attacking the knight. So that black's knight is heading again to d4 via e6. White found another way to deter him, and naturally it was a tactic. Let's say, okay, black plays c takes d here. Okay, if let's just say, let's say there's a kicker here at h6, and then we're gonna play this move out. Takes, and then bishop c6 here, exclam. The tactical motif is if the queen takes, then he gets surprised. Black gets the surprise of his life. Hey, how you doing? And this wins a piece, the queen. So that's why the knight took the knight on from C to D5. And white didn't really much mind that, because how many times has this one knight moved? A lot of times, so the taking was actually worth it through the amount of temping it took. So he takes D. Now white has acquired another one of their goals. White wanted to create a pass pawn, a protected pass pawn, and now white has acquired a protected pass pawn on D5, and this is going to be a problem for black later on when the pieces start coming off the board. At the present moment, the bishop on D6 does a good job of kind of stopping the pass pawn for a while, but it still is it's never fun to have a pass pawn right there protecting what evolve. So F6 to attack the bishop, and then bishop E3. And now potentially a rook swing could happen, and then a bishop we could potentially win a pawn. So since this light square bishop has no particular good square, he could trade it off if need be. Black has really no good square. So the bishop trades off, the queen takes, and the following is rook a c1. Remember what we talked about? Winning a pawn. Rook d to c8, guard the pawn. Rook c4 exclam. This is, we're trying to barricade, we're stopping the pawn, and we're getting ready to double on rook e c1, and then we're going to force a weakening of the position. Rook a b8, and then pawn to b3 to stop any movement of this of b3 to b2, b4 to b3. This was kind of a positional move. It's saying you're not getting any more counterplay, my friend. And then he played rook c7, rook e c1. White has a positional 1 game. He may not be able to basically crash through the queen side's defensive, because black has committed, he may be able to actually, black has committed a lot of his pieces over there. White will switch to the king side and eventually win. Like, this is actually what happened. Rook b5, pawn g4, exclam. This is we're going to try to get a knight in g5, knight g2, king g7, and then h4. And the majority of black's pieces are on the queen side, and the king's all alone by itself. Okay, we'll set this one tactic up, and then we'll go over the tactic. I'm not tactic, but the game. I was thinking tactics there. Okay, clear the board. Okie dokie. Make sure I have all this. Okay, good, perfect. Okay. white, perfect. So we'll do a study and we'll just click these. Even though we're not going to use them, but $1974. Perfect. Just making sure I have everything wrote down right. Perfect. Wait, it's perspective. Here we go. This is the next kind of section inside of the chapter, Little Tactics. Most players have an uneasy feeling about composed studies. They don't like those white to play and win positions they see in the magazines because they think they're basically artificial, which means made up ones. Yes, most studies are very artificial, yeah. But what amateurs might like about them is that the solutions are usually 100% tactical. You don't have to know exactly the technical position. Just work out the tactics. In fact, one of the best ways to improve your winning technique is to work on endgame tactics. The technique is mainly a mixture of little tactical combinations with the process of making moves, such as creating a passed pawn. Here's a dynamic but not unusual example of an endgame. This from this one right here. White has employed a few tactics to build up his positional edge, but to convert the edge he needs a threat, and begins with, let me see, I will stop here for a second, and I will ask you if you're watching this on my YouTube website. I would like to have you stop right now, and you're white. And I would like to see if you can find out what white's tactical motif would be to start their attack. Stop right now and resume if you'd like, or you can follow with us as we continue. One sec, I'll get a drink and then we'll start. Okay, let's do it. A6. If you found A6, congratulations. That's a pretty tough move to find. This is based on the element if B takes A, then there's a C fork right here. If the pawn takes, then knight comes in, forking these two pieces. So a fork would arise after that. So how black handled that was bishop takes d4, rook takes d4, and should have continued with b takes a, but he didn't do that. They played rook d, c8. What they're saying is that black should have continued with pawn takes a6, b takes, and and now the fork has been eliminated. This position has declined has been decided thanks to a6, but it's not yet lost. So this position is it's almost lost for black, because if you notice, the white's pawn is actually 2 moves away from queening. So all white has to do is eliminate this pawn here, eliminate this pawn here. That's an important pawn, and if it can get eliminated, then it's huge. I'll just remove that. This pawn is important. So this one needs to get eliminated. I'm just going to keep this as a vital pawn that once it goes, black's position goes basically. So black decided to play d to c8, trying to get some of the rooks off the board so that's not even playable. It's trying to stop that at all costs. Rook takes c, rook takes c. This point, his point is, let's see here. I will stop here once more, and I will have you stop. This is another exclam move in the endgame, and I want you to stop. See if you can solve it. Stop now. And if you want to continue, just keep listening. Okay. The move is actually b6 exclam. If you saw that, great job. The idea though is if a takes b7, which is actually a mistake here, rook b8, and not only regains his pawn but makes b5 pawn a target as well. This actually will make the b5 pawn a target. So instead of that continuation, white just decided to try to go all of their guns blazing. Basically, it's all or nothing to get a protected pass pawn to the 7th rank. A takes b6 was played here. If black had tried b takes a6, then b7 could actually be played here, and then a rook b8, and then bishop takes a6. The pawn's protected, and then next, potentially, you could even, if let's say the king this is just my lines here. You can actually play rook takes d, or e4, pawn takes, and then bishop to d6 here, and this is just crushing, just total crushing. Because what would have to happen is the rook would basically have to give its life, and then you'd be up a whole minor piece at this point, and it would be interesting to say the least. There's also after this, maybe you could just kick the knight out, and the knight would just come back, and maybe then you can just keep some material on the board, maybe, and then the rook would actually have to give itself up, and you have a rook on the board at this point. So, but you do have an isolated pawn that you can take scope onto. So this is interesting, a very interesting played position for sure. So I'm not sure what would be, if you like trading down and you kind of just want a position that is winning. This is basically winning for white, because your bishops will eventually outmaneuver this one. You're gonna pick up the pawn on a7. Okay, it's gonna fall. One of the pawns gonna fall. You know, you can actually first attack it. So like if the king comes up, you can attack, and then the bishop could actually come there, and then if the king tried to come, you first place your bishop there. If the king came over, then you come up, and let's say that he comes down here. You just grab that, and now there's really no route in to attack the bishops anymore. So you've won the pawn, and now the position's almost lost, close to losing. It's still going to be hard to play, but it's good. It's playable at that point. And as long as you keep these pawns positioned here and protected and out of harm's way, this structure here favors white. So back to our game here. A takes b7, rook b8, and then bishop to a6. He was lost. He might try one trick. The trick is bishop queen e8, or not queen e8, bishop e8. So he could actually, one second. The move that was actually played was e6, so this is actually the move. And then the interesting continuation that we talked about was cuz boom, that's actually a exclam move. So we saw an exclam move, and after takes, but there is a better continuation. This might be a tactical trick that our opponent could do. Rook takes d5, bishop c6, and then trades, but it fails to the tactical motif of f6, f3 exclam is interesting. At this point, actually it's not this here. It's actually here that could be played f3 exclam. That's the way that you can handle the move sequence. Knight f6, then bishop d6. Our knight knight c5, bishop takes c5, b takes c5, and rotates d8. Bishop c6, rotates c, bishop b7, and then the incredible pin b5 exclam. This is winning. After everything basically is done, they're going to go down a whole rook here, a pin. So instead they played that, and then rook takes. In view of queen bishop d6, by playing over endgames like that, an entire game by Magnus Carlsen versus you can play over an entire game of Magnus Carlsen, Vladimir Kramnik, Anatoly Karpov, or any of the other great players mentioned earlier in this chapter. You should enjoy a game on how to become a grandmaster is a positional tactician. You need to be able to be a positional tactician to go over them. And that's why we're doing it. Let's see how we're doing on time. Perfect. Boy, we're really kicking it this tonight. So let me get a drink and we'll get on to another one. We might be able to get a couple more in. Congratulations, we're starting chapter 4. So this is chapter 4 right now. At a memorial service after Bobby Fischer's death in 2008, the I think it's the Filipino master Rento na Java. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Recalled how they both competed in 1970s interzonal tournament. One day after the Filipino grandmaster had drawn with a Soviet grandmaster who was much stronger than him, Fischer told the grandmaster he stood better when at the game's end. He stood better at the game's end. Yes, I know, the grandmaster said, but I could not see how to win. Fischer said that was no reason to agree to a draw. When you know you have an edge, you just keep playing, he said. You have the 2 bishops. Fischer said, just move them around. This is another major difference between a master and an amateur. Masters want more out of the position. They try to win and find ways to win positionally. That seems unlikely to be, which seems unlikely to be winnable. Here's a vintage example. So let's set it up. This is great. So Fischer got to talk to this Grand Master about the position. That was must have been something. Probably it didn't feel too good at the time, but you know what? When you learn, and it always feels better to learn because you don't want to be doomed to repeat it again. Wow, this kind of looks like a Roy Lopez position in exchange, but you have the bishop though, so let me make sure. Oops, I almost forgot the king. Oops, I have to put the queens on the board. Okay, let's see here. Perfect, okay. Alright, nice. It's black to move, so this is black to move here. They already castled, but I'll put castling rights anyways. So this is a really older game. Black had just played. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, gotta look at it from Black's perspective. Okay. This black played f5 here, and this was a big surprise for Larry Evans. When he annotated the game, he gave the move a dubious move, a dubious mark. To label it dubious. This move would never occur to me, Evans wrote. There are several reasons why it wouldn't. It's not a developing move. It restricts black's queen bishop, and moreover, black has no good alternate move, such as actually has a good alternate move. Sorry, so rook e8 are general principle that bars a tactical problem. They have to be good. Each one of them moves. What Larry Evans is saying is he didn't think about this move because what does it do? It blocks your bishop on your C light square bishop, and you could have actually moved a rook to dominate the open file for a while there. Okay, but Evans was 16 when he wrote that. But Larry Evans was 16 when he wrote. This move would never occur to me. Already a master, he knew a lot about playing, but he had a lot to learn about winning. That's what he said. What he didn't appreciate is how drawish the position became if black played a pretty purely if black played purely according to principles after rook e8. This would be more drawn of a position. Rook e8, white can play c3, bishop d6, d4. There's little to prevent him from playing other principal moves like he could play actually here, and then the bishop could come out to b3, e3, queen d2, rook f, e1, and then something to do with g5, some sort of moves like that. These were kind of the moves that White was thinking. Then the position is so evenly balanced, there is no chance. It would get closer and closer to draw after each of the pieces gets traded off. Black doesn't want a draw. He was a stronger player than White. He followed the Tigrosian advice. As a master has a slight odds against his opponent. Whenever he plays a weaker player, Tarrasch said, he has to find ways to avoid a draw. This doesn't mean taking risks. So, in this game, black. Oops, sorry, f5. Gotta have that. Let me see. Okay, making bad moves in hope of confusing your opponent. No, you don't want to do that. No, he was simply giving White more chances to go wrong after f5. There were very few ways to go wrong after rook e8, and Black had a logical way to do that. The first step is bishop d6, followed by queen h4. So black can actually play after this move. Black could play queen here, our bishop there, queen h4. Then you also can then play f4 at that point. On the other hand, if White defends with h3, he is vulnerable to even g4, g5 types of moves right alongside with that. Evans wrote that the strange f5 is inflexible. It's inflexible. I'm sorry, ineffective will work. It doesn't have anything to do with it. The game continued with d3, bishop d6 for the black, bishop d2. Oops, not e2, d2. Queen h4, g3, queen f6, bishop c3, and queen h6. The position black played rook e1. So if white meets f4 with white, black can continue with queen h4 followed by g5 and h5 with a furious attack. So if he tried, let me see here. I'm not exactly sure what he was meaning by that, but we'll just do this, that, and then rook, our pawn f4 here. But this allows f takes g3. So bishop g4, f takes g3, f takes g3, rook to f2, exclam. As stunning as that may appear, it is a known sacrificial device. In the case rook e8 check here, but if the king were to take, queen takes h7, h2, king e3, queen takes g3, queen f3, bishop takes g4, queen takes g, bishop takes g. Would land white in a bad endgame, a really bad endgame. If bishop takes, oops. Nope, that's not right either. We'll just keep that with this line. I don't understand the other line. Let me see here. What am I missing? King h2 there. We takes check. Bishop f3. Yep. And then bishop g4. And then the rook, this rook would basically slide over here with check. Okay, got it. So rook e8 check, bishop f8, king takes, queen takes check, king f1, but bishop takes g4, queen takes g4, and then rook takes e8. Eventually one for black. After it was pointed out, let's see, move 10. Bishop h5 would have held for white. Exclam. This would have actually held for white. But that doesn't deter from the f5. It gave white ways to go wrong. Instead of being able to rely on, moves in a steady position, he won. Soon he didn't want to fight for a draw. He wanted to fight for at least an advantage. Okay, let's see what we got for some time here. Okay, perfect. We will read this here, and then we can pick up a little bit. We'll pick up tomorrow. Let's see what's going on here really quick. Yeah, we'll pick up here tomorrow after this one. It's called Prolong. This is the name. We're in chapter 4 more, and the subtitle is called Prolong. Masters want more, and because of that, they often get it. It sounds too simple, but it's true. There are special ways to emulate masters in this way. But utterly, it comes down to Fischer's basically discussion with that grandmaster. If you keep pressure on your opponent long enough, if you keep forcing him to make choices, if you keep trying to win, there's a good chance that you will. This view was also a tentative of the Soviet school of chess. Mikhail Bonvinik watched watchword was prolonged. His watched word was prolonged. Prolong the struggle. Think twice about trading pieces when you have an advantage, he said. Continue the pressure, even if you don't have to temporarily retreat. Even if you don't have to temporarily retreat from the position, just to prolong the intensity of the move. And so let's I'm probably going to end it here, and we're going to just do a small wrap up. We went over happy accidents, and we learned that masters don't always have the ability to say look in the future and go, yeah, I'm going to do a strategic move here, then I'm going to do a pin or a tactic or a skewer there. It just happens. Sometimes it just falls, as I like to say, right in front of us on the board, that we're able to implement a tactic and a strategic position. Sometimes it's there. But I like what Bobby Fischer said to that one grandmaster when they were at a tournament. He said that you were better. Why did you do a draw? Why? You should have kept pushing. Because the worst thing that happens is it may end in a draw anyways, but you have a better chance of victory at that point. So don't, if you have a slight advantage, my friends, in your game, keep pushing in the position. But if you kind of feel maybe like, I'm not feeling too good, and I feel like, what, sometimes it's better to take a draw. A draw is a victory, my teacher, Grandmaster teacher, told me. But if you have the chance to push, push with all your might. Don't squeeze and make your opponent prove that it's a draw, and that you just don't accept it right off the bat. And then what the Soviet School of Chess taught their students was that, keep the pressure, prolong the fight, and don't give up. Even if you have to retreat your piece back and it looks like a dubious move, just to keep the tension in the position potentially could win you the game. But remember that it's always about improving in chess, and to apply to take what you have and apply it, and be willing to do something with it always. That's why Bruce Lee is correct. And he also said that, there are plateaus that happen in any field that you go down, but you should desire never to stay at that plateau. You should always push beyond that. And that's why if you feel like you kind of are in a slump in chess, and you're like, I feel like I'm in a slump in an opening, try a new opening. But remember, if you like the opening that you're at, just find more sublines in it and just keep working, and you will overcome that, my friends. But choices are vital, and the choice to receive the Lord Jesus as Lord and Savior is as vital as keeping the tension, the pressure, and the tactics. So we have to always decide one day, what are we going to do with the Lord Jesus? And that's why the Team Chess Cruncher motto is in place. We hang up our coats, we hang up our hats, we sit down and study when most won't. Team Chess Cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. And as Wesley so says, serve the Lord Jesus. And as I say, God bless. And I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening. The Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. We'll keep pushing forward and making more progress and more learning routes in our minds. Now we understand what Hannibal Smith said, though, about even inside of a random position, there's always a plan. It's coming more and more true, and being more revealed to us every time we study deeper in Andrew Solstice's book on what it takes to become a grandmaster. We're getting to see why he said that. There is no randomness, my friends. There's always a plan. Okay, 2 thumbs up. Hoorah, be blessed. Go Team Chess Cruncher. You know what? Keep learning, having fun, honoring the Lord Jesus, and keep push and play. I will see you tomorrow. Hoorah, go Team Chess Cruncher. Be blessed. Bye-bye.